Shalom, I'm Nama Rue. This is my husband, Rabbi David Rue. And in this video, we are going to continue the discussion of what do I do with the money that has the sanctity of Shmita during the Shmita year. Because we can't just spend it on anything. We can't just give it away and let it be spent on anything. We have to use it in a certain way within a certain amount of time, depending on how that money was acquired.
So we ended by talking about Tofsas and saying the reason why I cannot give money to an Amaretz is that he's not going to know what to do with it. He's not the money that has the sanctity of Shmis, because he's not going to know what to do with it, or he won't be careful with it. The Ramban extends this idea a little bit. I want to start with that. Rachmana Anam Perish Shvis. God told us concerning the fruit of the Shemitah year that it's for eating and for nothing else. Therefore, Therefore, from Torah law, I cannot purchase with the money of Shmita or with the produce of Shmita anything that cannot be eaten. Like it says in the Mishnah in the 5th parak of Masechta Shvis. I cannot purchase with the money of Shmita or the fruits of the Shmita slaves, real estate, non-kosher animals. And if I did, so I spent $1 million and bought a house in Eretz Yisrael, and it was all money from the Shmita year.
That's not holy to do that?
Then I have to spend $1 million on food products and eat it all during the Shemitah year. I can have a huge barbecue for the entire yishuv, every day for a long, long time. So the kol sheken b'perush shvis atzman, all the more with the fruit of Shemitah itself. I cannot buy these things, any of the things that huadin lachalok l'talis. The same thing would be true for a piece of clothing or a shoes, the kol davar she'einu roi lechila, and anything that's not fit to eat. She'aser lemachram derech schara, and I can't sell them in the normal ways. Titnan, as the Mishnah says, ein mochrim b'perush shvis lo b'mida v'lo b'mishkal. I cannot sell Shmita fruits, not by number. There are 7 mangoes here I'm selling. No, can't do that. I'm selling none. That doesn't work. There are 4 kilos here. Can't do that. That's by weight. V'taima demilsa, and what's the rationale for this? The davar haroi lechila holiyol v'nitbas b'kedusha shvis. He says anything that is fit to eat, it's grabbed with the sanctity of shvis. V'efshar linhog ba'o kedusha shvis, and I can conduct myself with this fruit with the sanctity of the Shemitah year. Avo damim, but money. She efshar linhog b'hem kedusha shvis. The money itself I cannot eat. Right? I can't anoint myself with it. I can't, right? These things are impossible.
You can't shake it in your sukkah.
I can't buy a lulav with the money of Shmita either, because that's not appropriate.
It's not?
Maybe the esrog, because the esrog is fit to eat. The other things aren't, so I couldn't buy it with the money of Shmita. But the money that I cannot conduct myself to Shmita, gone chaluk aser. So if I do any of these things, I'm, so to speak, removing the sanctity from them, and that's prohibited. And I have not fulfilled the Torah obligation of eating the things. So paying off my debts with these things are also prohibited. Now, so let's say I go to a store, and the store owner sold fruit, and now some of the money in his has the sanctity of shvis. He gives me change. Some of that money has the sanctity of shvis. I don't know it. Now, the Chazon Ish said a very important principle that has been accepted by the vast majority of poskim since him, and that is nitan lahakal b'maos shebashuk. One can be lenient in just money floating around the marketplace. I don't know at all whether there's any money from Shmita there. So I follow the majority. Aval b'bankim or b'chanuyot, but in banks and food stores or foods that sell stores that sell food. I know there is some money from Shmita there. That these things are never batal. Why?
Batal?
Negated in like 1 part in 60 or 1 part in anything. Because I can use them to buy something that I can then have sanctity of Shmita and eat it with the sanctity of Shmita and so on. And this is the way the Rambam paskins, and the Radbaz explains the reason is because it's something that you can find a heter for. You can use this in such a way that it would become mutter. So there are several suggestions that have been given to what I should do when I go to a store. I go to a supermarket. All right? What do I do? So if I'm paying in cash, I can say, according to Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, I say whatever money that I might be getting in change, it is the kedusha of that is transferred to the money that I'm giving him, that I'm paying. Now, there's a question: why isn't this lifnei ver lo titein mikshal? That I shouldn't give money to the Am Haaretz. One of the reasons given in the Rishonim why I shouldn't give money to the Am Haaretz is because he'll use it improperly. So now I'm giving money to him that has the sanctity of Shmita, and he's someone that's not careful. Why isn't that a problem? What Reb Shlomo Zalman said is the reason why it's not a problem is because he's got the money anyway. Meaning, if it's true that with the change that he's giving me, there's some of that money has the sanctity of Shmita, he already had the problem. I'm not making a problem for him. I'm just not removing the problem from him. That's what Rav Shlomo Zalman said. The Minchas Yitzchak said a slightly different thing. He said, if you're ever in a store where they do sell food, make sure you buy some food with whatever you're buying. And that food, you say, absorbs all the sanctity of Shmita that could be involved in this transaction. And then I have to be careful with whatever I buy to treat it as if it's Shmita produce, even if it's something that normally couldn't be. So for instance, I go into a butcher store. It could be that he also has, vegetables. I don't know what he has. He has other things that might have the sanctity of Shmita. So by meat, I now have to treat it as though it has the sanctity of Shmita, which means I have to make sure I use it up. I can't throw it away, and so on. All the limitations that we have. But he says, in that way, you never have to worry about in the change that you have, that you receive, ever having something with the sanctity of Shmita. I would say, Bismanenu, there's a much more simpler way. In our time, there's a much more simpler way of solving this problem. If you're ever in a situation where the person could have the money of Shmita, pay with a credit card. It's always possible in Israel, in the store, to pay with a credit card. Then you're never getting change. So it's not possible that he's giving me something that has the sanctity of Shmita.
So when you make a purchase of food and you say to add food to it, and then you declare that this food should absorb the sanctity from the money?
Right, because if I'm buying something, and if there is money here that has the sanctity of Shmita, of course, if I'm using that to buy food, the food acquires that. So I'm saying if he's giving it back to me, I am then saying that the part of the sanctity that is in this transaction is transferred to this food item.
Do you have to say it out loud, or is it your intention?
I'm not sure. I think in general, such things should be said out loud. Perhaps a way of solving the problem would be saying in front of a beis din at the beginning of Shmita, every transaction I make in the store that has food, I will be sure to buy food. And whatever there is from that transaction that might have a possibility of the prohibition of Shmita will be transferred to the food that I'm buying here.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you.
And we'll go on to weights and measures in the near future.